name is Zach Batty. I'm with eLearning Brothers. We really appreciate you coming to the eLearning Rockstar stage. The person presenting now is John Blackmon. John Blackmon is the co-founder and CTO of Trivantis and the original creator of Lectura. I've also learned that John is a bit of an adrenaline junkie. He is an avid motorcyclist, a skydiver, a scuba diver, a bear wrestler, an alligator trainer. Am I missing anything else?
The first three. The first three.
Now, it is true, though, that this might be the last time we see John. This Friday, he will be jumping off the stratosphere.
It's a 900-foot bungee jump if you want to do it. Come with me on Friday. It should be a lot of fun.
So not only is he going to train you well, but be gentle. This might be his swan song. So without further ado, please welcome John Blackmon.
Thank you, Zach. After that, I'm also going out to Zion, and I'm going to hike Angel's Landing, which you have to hold on to a chain 1,000 feet straight up. So that's going to be an interesting one as well. But while I'm still alive, I'm here to talk to you about responsive design. So first, we should define responsive design. So here's a nice Webster's definition. It suggests that design and development should respond to the user's behavior and environment based on screen size. But what's most important here is what's not there. It does not say on a mobile phone. It does not say on a tablet, right? This talks about responding to the user. And that's really what it's about, is being user-centric. Responsive design is not about designing for a mobile phone or a mobile environment. Yes, you do have to do that. But you have to be responsive to a lot of different things that are involved in that. Being on a mobile phone is a different paradigm. It's a different way of thinking. And that's what I want to try to impress upon you today, is that thought process that you're going to go through in responsive design. So first, we're going to talk about e-learning design methods. So we're going to go through kind of the history of e-learning design, where we started and where we're going, and we'll talk about the different methods that we've used in the past to create all of our content. And so did I. It's where I came from as well. So the first is fixed design, and this is what we all started with if you've been doing it for a while, and it's how you still might be doing it, especially if you've done anything in Flash or anything in an older method. It's traditional stuff. It's a static fixed size. You define your page size first. You go in, everything fits. It works great. You know where things are. You can overlay things. You can put a piece of text next to an image, and you know it's always going to be there. It's very warm and comfortable. We know how to do it. However, it's not great for viewing on multiple devices. So if I put that application on a phone and I try to look at it, it's either going to shrink it to the size of the phone, in which case you can't read anything on it, or you're going to have to scroll around to look at the page. Just not useful. So this really doesn't work for responsive design. You can't put it on multiple devices. It's not very user-friendly. Adaptive design. This is where we all went to. So at first we started with our fixed page design, and then we said, hey, we have to support mobile phones. Create a mobile version of your content, and then create your fixed version for the desktop. And guess what? It worked, but you had to do everything twice. And then they asked you for a tablet version, and then you had to do it 3 times, which is great for job security, but really it's very hard to do. It takes a lot of time, right? You're building for every one of these devices every time. And when you make a change, you have to make a change on every one of these devices every time. Not very flexible, not very workable. Didn't last very long, but this was right. I did this. I'm sure some of you did too as well. Not the way to go. So then fluid or scaling design. So this is designing scaling into the content such that the content will scale automatically on the devices. Okay, if you use percentages for widths, it goes in. This was kind of an answer if we still wanted to, we're still building it in a fixed method, but it's scaling down. There are still some authoring tools here today that's their answer to responsive design. It's not responsive design. It is viewable on the devices. You can see these things, but it's not optimized for the device. Text is unreadable. You really have to scroll it back up and then scroll it back down to use it. It's really not worthy. It's not really responsive design. You're not responding to the user's wishes by doing that. So then came true responsive design. So responsive design's been around since about 2010. It actually started a little bit before that in different ways, but the term responsive design came out in 2010. Came out on a website called A List Apart, which they pondered on using CSS and media queries to look at the different devices and look at the widths and create different things on there. And on this one, it's pretty cool. It does definitely respond to what you need. responds using the width of the device, the CSS width of the device. It'll actually move your content around. It won't shrink the text, so the text is still readable. Pages will grow as they need to. Fantastic. It's a great way to approach it. However, it's pretty complicated. I don't know if some of you have had to go through and create a truly responsive site using frameworks such as the adaptive frameworks that are out there, Bootstrap, things like that. It's hard. It's hard. It takes a lot of work. And it's hard to go in and rework it. Plus, it's not deterministic, and I thought this is the most important to e-learning. E-learning is a little bit different than websites. We really need deterministic output. And so what that means is you have to know where something's going to be. When I'm looking at it on my phone and I have an interaction in which I'm going to click on an image and I have to click on something, that text can't be down here. It needs to be here, right? It needs to be, and if I turn my phone, it still needs to be here, right? So e-learning has a little bit different need than websites. So I think this kind of works great for websites. This is what you want to use if you're on a website, but I don't think it really works for e-learning because it's not deterministic and it's pretty hard to work with. So within Lectura, we have what's called responsive course design, and I'll be talking about Lectura a good bit while I'm here today. Here's where you design the content once on your largest view, your desktop or tablet landscape view. It then automatically chains down your changes to the other devices, but then you can go in and tailor those changes. We do the work, we try to do as much work as we can for you, but there are some times when it's okay for things to be that we're lined up side by side. It's okay for them to be top bottom. Sometimes it's not. Those are decisions you have to make as to where things are going to line up. So we give you the opportunity to tailor it for those views, and we give you deterministic output on each of those views. So when you design for a phone, it's going to look the same on my phone, as on your phone, as on your phone, as on your phone. The same content will look the same. So you'll know how to look. So responsive course design. Okay, so now that's kind of where we came from and how we got to responsive design today. Let's talk about the rules of the road. So the rules of the road are, kind of the thought process I was talking about earlier. If you're going to create responsive content, what do you need to be thinking about? How do you need to think if you're going to be creating responsive content? So this one is the most important. It was the hardest for me to get over. I'm sure it's hard for a lot of people. Vertical scrolling is good. So this is like that greed is good thing they said in Wall Street, if you remember. Greed is good. Vertical scrolling is now good. Everybody, me, you, we all had to get everything fit on one page. And we would take one concept and break it up into 3 different pages because it didn't fit in our 800 by 600 that we were trying to get things on. It's one concept. It should be on one page. That's how your user is thinking about it. Websites today all work with scrolling, right? People are used to scrolling. It's okay. Not only is it okay, that's the way to do it. It's a more modern look. So this is, as e-learning designers today, that's the hardest point to get over, is that vertical scrolling is desired. It is actually how you want to do it. Not on every page. If your page is, the concept that you're teaching is small, then okay, hey, just it fits on one page. But keep your thoughts together in a congruous method. That's how we learn. That's how we think about it. That's how we should design it. Good concept of that is above the fold. A lot of people worried about, I have to get this picture above the fold. Above the fold is an old print concept for newspaper. When you had a folded newspaper, what was on top was considered above the fold. Above the fold doesn't matter. We're going to scroll. Your most important point could be at the end because that's where you need to present it. That's okay. You don't need to present things out of order or on multiple pages to get them above the fold. Don't have to worry about that anymore. Minimize data entry. So, we've all seen a lot of different courses in which we require people to put in paragraphs of information or long answers to questions rather than choosing a multiple choice. That's great. But if I'm on my phone and I have to do this, that's pretty tough to do. And mistyping, getting the wrong word in, be aware, just you have to think of that. In your initial design, when you're coming out, you can probably put a small drag and drop, a small matching, even a multiple choice or something like that. Try to get away from having somebody do a fill in the blank, or definitely don't do an essay question or anything that's supposed to be responsive. It's just not going to work. People aren't going to want it. They can't. The situations are different on a phone. And it's not just taking it on a phone. It's the situations in which we take mobile. Usually when we're learning something on mobile, it's quicker. It's faster. We're picking up a phone and we're getting in there because we have a little time, an extra time on the bus. We have a little extra time. We're doing it on the plane and we're disconnected, whatever it may be. But you aren't taking the time to do all that. You're learning it quicker at a faster pace. So, and you want to be more engaging. Typing in a paragraph on a phone is not very engaging. So, convenient to use quickly. That is what we're talking about. There has to be an easy button in everything you do today. So, everyone is going through at a much faster pace. The 10-hour course that we all created should not exist today. You have to break that up into concepts. Look at the course and say, hey, what are the things I'm teaching in here? Can this be broken up? Sometimes it can't. Sometimes it needs to be instructor-led. Sometimes it needs to be, and that's fine. But a lot of things that you create aren't necessarily one homogeneous piece. You can break it up, make them little short, easy to use things so you can get in, get out. You can put navigation at the front rather than making someone page through every time. If I took a course and I need to remember a concept that was on page 43, let me get to page 43. Don't make me go to page 43 every time, right? It has to be easy. It has to be easy to get around, easy to use, easy to pick up, and let the user navigate. Don't make me go through. Don't make it a PowerPoint. You definitely don't want to make it a PowerPoint, whatever you do. This one is key, and it's one that we don't think about enough. Smaller file sizes. So these days, a lot of times we're using pictures. Hey, I can just take a picture with my phone. Snap, I drag it in there. Great, it looks really sharp. That looks great. I'm going to use it as a thumbnail. It's going to be this big on there. That's really cool. Guess what? Your phone just took a 5.7 megabyte picture, and you're using it as something that should be about 67K, right? If those don't mean much to you, trust me, something that's 100 times bigger than it needs to be. You're making someone download that on a device. You're potentially making them pay for data to download it. It might be slow. If you had to try to download it on the Wi-Fi in here, it would never get there. I've tried, trust me. So look at what you're doing. Video. Video is very important to use, and it can work extremely well. But do you really need, HD video in something that is going to be viewed mostly very small or on a phone? You don't. You don't. And the audio tracks in that video, or if you have separate audio, if you're doing a narrated stuff works great on a mobile device. It's actually very good for responsive training. But if you're doing that audio, does it need to be stereo? Probably not. Guess what? A mono audio takes half the size of a stereo audio, and it makes absolutely no difference when you're viewing it on your phone. It usually makes no difference when you're viewing it on your PC. We probably should use, if it's music, then it would be stereo. If it's talking at all, it should be mono. And bring the file size down, the bit rate down. You're using MP3s, lower bit rates on the MP3s. These are all things that'll make your much smaller. Your pages will be more responsive. Your pages will load faster. That is a part of responsive, is making things load faster. It's a big part of it. So be aware of these things. There's a lot to making it smaller. Bite-sized pieces. You'll hear this all the time when people are talking about getting into chunked learning. You'll see it often. But everything needs to be consumed in a short amount of time. So your best bet is, so let's say you do have a course that it is one concept and it is at least an hour to 2 hours worth of learning. That's okay. There are a lot of concepts that are like that. There's just so much information, and it is all related. You need to keep it together. Just make sure that the pieces are small enough that you can get in and out of them quickly. Don't make any section more than 5 to 10 pages so that people can get through that content and get back out. If they need to relearn that content or use it for performance support, which is very common today, then allow them to get to it and navigate to it. But make sure everything is bite-sized pieces along the way. It doesn't mean that, and you'll hear it here, everyone says that no course should be more than 10 pages. That's ridiculous. You'll never be able to create anything with no course is more than 10 pages. Just make sure that you can access it. Make sure you can get to it fast. So, very important. Interactivity. So, I don't know about you, but when I'm on my phone, I'm doing very interactive things. I'm on social media, I'm doing gaming, light gaming, I swear. But a lot of different things. I'm used to interacting with my phone, right? I'm doing things. So add interactivity in. It's okay. And this is because if you have deterministic output, you can put a drag and drop. You can put a matching. You can put a small animation in because you know where that thing is going to be on the device. In true responsive design, it's not going to work because things may have moved around or you won't be able to do that. But in the case of something like when you know you have deterministic output, add something in. Make it a little fun. Put a game in. Do something like that. You have a lot of games available through the eLearning brothers that are in these things. Use them. People like that. They want to be interactive with their phones. They want to do things. Consider offline. So this is an important one. A lot of people think when you're talking responsive or mobile, hey, it's always connected. It's actually not. Especially not standing here right now, in here. None of us are very well connected right now, trust me. And so most LMSs, including LMSs from our company, come with offline players, so you can play that content offline. And it's a great way to take it. It's the way we're taking our content over here and showing some of our content over here, because we can't get on the internet. So you actually have to think of that. Be conscious of it. So we all put YouTube videos, Vimeo videos, things like that. We connect up because, hey, it's an easy way to get video in. Link to it on YouTube. It's great. It has all these great things in it. However, if you're offline, guess what? You're going to get a huge X on that, right? And they're not going to be able to see it. And if your learning depends on that, then you just lost everyone who took that online, right? So think about it. You probably put it on YouTube or something like that because it was so large, you didn't want people to have to download it. But see why it's so large. See what about that is the problem that's causing you to do that. I bet there's ways you can get it into the content itself and use it, especially if it's a small snippet. There's no reason it has to be that large. You can probably embed it in. So very, very important. If you've linked to PDFs that are online, that's great. But remember, not everyone's going to get them. So if that's extra material, no problem. They'll wait till they get home and they'll look at it. If that's vital to what you're doing, maybe you want to consider putting that in. Actually adding that to the content, putting the PDF right in there. PDFs are generally pretty small, not a big deal. This one to me is the most important. We're designing for humans, not devices. So quite often in here, you're going to see, well, we're designing for the phone. No, you're not. The phone is not taking your course. There's someone taking your course. He's taking it on a phone, but you're not designing for the phone. So think about that person on the mobile device. Think about the situations they're going to be in. Think about that person. Design for the person taking the course on your phone, not for the phone. Just because it fits on the phone doesn't mean it's right. Right? Think about the person. It's all about designing for humans. All right, so now let's talk about, we're going to get a little more specific to Lectura. How many people here are familiar with Lectura? Most people. Okay, so my company is Trivantis. Our authoring tool is Lectura. I have some best practices here, although these are specific to Lectura. They apply to all tools. So whatever tool you're using, these will probably apply to all tools as well. So these are kind of some ideas, things you should follow along the line while you're authoring. So we're a big proponent of designing to your largest view first, which is usually your tablet landscape. In Lectura, your tablet landscape equals your desktop. It's the same view because tablets these days are sometimes bigger than your desktop, as evidenced by some of the new Apple tablets. They're huge. They're ridiculous. So yes, design that view first. What you do is you have a large amount of content on there, and as you pare down, you're going to maybe throw some of that. You're not going to use some of that. You're going to determine that that little accent picture, accent image, doesn't make sense to use on your smallest view. It didn't really provide any purpose for the learning, so you just drag that to the side. If you start with that, a lot of people will say mobile first or phone first. The problem is when you start there and then you view it on the desktop, you just have this big sparse landscape with nothing in it when you're done. Design for your biggest view first, put everything in there you think you need, and as you pare down, see what you don't need. See what fits and what you don't need. Maybe you need it all, that's great. It'll be on this long scrolling page, but if you do, if you can take some of it out, you'll be able to take it out. We always want you to do that. And in Lectura, it's almost mandatory because we automatically, whatever you do on that view automatically propagates down to the other views. So, a good way to design. Starting at the top. So, this is really talking about your navigation. So, you always want to start with your navigation first. Let's say you've got a course, it's been built 10 years ago, it's a static course. You've been told in the next 2 days, you have to get it working on a phone. What's the first thing we do? We just try to put that thing in and click, and boy, it doesn't work. Start at the top. Take a step back, think about it for a minute. Okay, let me get a navigation set, because probably that navigation that I created 10 years ago for the static course makes absolutely no sense. Buttons are going to be too small, nothing's going to work. Let's create the navigation first, and let's start at the top. So let's create our world. We probably don't need a footer anymore. Footers make no sense in the world when you have a scrolling thing, right? Maybe a little header with some navigation. Design that out first, get that working in all your views, make it so you like it, and then maybe pull in all your content. But start at the top. Make sure that navigation works on all of your views first, and then put in the content. Then put in all of your pages. because that navigation will be included on all your pages automatically. So it's a great way to do it. Think about themes. So themes are something that's built into Lectura. We give you 92 themes. We also allow you to customize any of those themes in any way you want. So you can start by putting in a theme, make the changes that are to your corporation, and then save that out as a template. And that can be the template you start with. Use them. They're already built for all of the different views already. They're already there. They already have a mobile version. It's finger friendly. Everything there is ready to go. Even if you don't use it, look at how they're done first. Try them and say, hey, you know what? I don't like the way it looks, but I can change it to my way and I'll make it work how I want it to work. So it's just a great way to get started. Again, this is part of the starting at the top. Think about that shell first. Page layouts are another great thing. So if you want to use pages, if all your pages will be using a standard design, a lot of corporations have standard ways you're going to lay out your pages. I have text video, text image, image text. I have a 2-column layout, a 3-column. Fantastic. If you have a certain set of layouts, create those beforehand. We allow you to create custom layouts and save those as custom layouts. Create those, set them up as templates. You can share them among all your developers, and then you can use those layouts. All you do is cut and paste. Your text is sitting somewhere. Let's face it, we're not all creating all that text all by ourselves. We're going to copy it and paste it into that text block. We'll drag that image in, and it'll automatically work. It'll already be set up. The layouts are responsive. They already work on all of the different views. As long as you use those layouts, the other views will work. You don't even have to go look at them. You just know they're going to be there. This is the big one, and this is what got me quite a lot when I had to go through and move a lot of content from the original static size pages that I had built long ago, and I had to come in. What I always did is I started with a full-size background image, right? And then I overlaid navigation buttons on it because it was easy. And it looked nice, and I only had to create that 800 by 600 piece when I was creating. Well, that will never work in a responsive world. I don't care what tool you use, how you do it, it's just not going to work. Because that's generally set for a landscape view, it shrinks down, it's unusable. You turn your phone in one way or the other, turn your tablet, it just doesn't work. So you can still use the same concept though, and it is still a good way to do it. But what you have to do is break those backgrounds up. So I'm sure we all have courses that have these full-size static images as a background. But take that thing into Photoshop or whatever your favorite editing tool is and break it up into 3 pieces. So you're going to break it up into a header, a repeating middle, and a footer. The actual background is only going to be this repeating middle. That will be your background image. And that'll actually just, in this case, it'll just be those 2 lines on the side. Then you'll just add 2 images. You'll add a header and you'll add a footer. Those will just be images at the top and the bottom. But then that'll automatically scale to any device you put it on, because we're going to set the footer as from bottom. I'll show that. I'll talk about that in a minute. But that will automatically give you a background that looks like those old static backgrounds that would make things a lot easier, but it automatically works in a responsive way on every device that's out there. It'll be scaled. So definitely break up all those backgrounds. And this is what I was just referring to, offsets from bottom. So when you have that footer, and you want that footer to be on the bottom of my phone, your phone, a tablet, whatever it is, when you turn the device, I still want it to be exact, whatever the bottom of the device is, use the from bottom. So it's called offset from bottom. It's on the properties of the object. You go in, and all you need to do is check offset from bottom, and then what we call the Y coordinate will be how many pixels from the bottom it is, not from the top it is. Normally when you add an image in, it bases 0, 0 on the top left corner, right? So whatever your position is, it's based on that top left corner. When it's from bottom, it's based on here. So it's from bottom. So wherever your device is, it'll automatically snap up and down for you, right? So kind of cool, a great responsive way to do it. You can still design in the same way, what you see is what you get kind of way, except you work from bottom. It's just a nice way to do it. Anchoring navigation. This is a very important one. So this is a fairly new, came out last year in Lectura. We allow you to anchor objects. So when you are creating a course that's on a phone, and vertical scrolling is good, the user will be scrolling through your content, looking at it, okay, he's reading, and now he wants to go to the next page. Now you may have built a swipe action, that's possible, or you may not. The user might be just wanting to click on a button to get to the next page. Where's my button? Well, I don't know. That was like 16 pages ago because I scrolled through it. With Lectura, you can anchor the navigation. It's just a checkbox. I don't have another. It's one of the properties also. You just say anchor it. What that means is it won't respond to a scroll. So if I put it at the top and I put a header and a forward and back button, it's going to still be there. And I can scroll and it will still be there. And so as I'm scrolling through and reading my content, okay, next. And the header is still there. As a matter of fact, it actually doesn't even have to reload when you go to the next page. It's already there. It's actually a little bit quicker, a little bit more responsive feeling to the user. It actually makes, in reality, it makes no difference. It's just your user perception is it looks like it's quicker, even though it's actually not. So anchoring is a great way to do it. And again, just a checkbox. You can actually anchor something to the middle if you want. I've seen that before in content where the forward and next buttons were in the middle and they're anchored. It's kind of cool, but then you have to be really careful about where your content sits so it doesn't get overlaid by that. So, but it's an option, things you can do. This is a big one. So this is a bad trait we've all inherited from PowerPoint, which is overlay images on text. So we put on 3 paragraphs of text in one text block. And next to those 3 paragraphs of text, we just put these images right next to it. And we expect those to line up, right? Because they line up in our authoring tool, and they look great. And then when we put them on the browser, and if anything about that font is different, even without doing responsive design, if one of these sentences wraps, if one word wraps, all of a sudden they don't line up anymore. Just because it was 1 pixel different in Internet Explorer, for instance, which renders everything differently, that word turducken up there is going to wrap to the next line. And when turducken wraps down, this is Bacon Ipsum, for those who don't know. It's my favorite Lorem Ipsum text to use. When that one piece of text rolls down, all of that's not going to line up anymore. And in responsive design, all bets are off. So what's going to happen is when that goes down to a phone, we're not going to shrink the text. We're actually going to make that text block a lot longer, push everything down, grow the page, all automatically for you. But we don't know that you wanted that image to line up with the second paragraph and this image to line up with the third paragraph. There's no way for an authoring tool to know that. And so guess what? The images are going to be up here, the text is going to be down here. Doesn't make any sense. So what do? Well, there's several ways to do it. One of those is to put it into a table, line things up next to each other on the table. That will automatically get lined up. Another great one is just break this up into 3 separate text blocks. If they're individual text blocks, they will move together. The top Y positions will be flowed together along with them, so they will line up together. So you'll know how they flow. The good thing about Lectura is you'll get to see this in the phone view before you actually publish it out to the phone, so you'll know what it looks like before it gets down there. But this one, don't do that. Just not going to work. All right, now here's a feature that I think is unique to our tool. They might have it in other tools, I'm not sure, but it's something called wrap text. You see this a lot on websites. So another property of a text block that most people don't know about inside of Lectura is that you can give a text block the property of wrap text. So what that means is it's going to wrap around overlaying images, videos, what have you, whatever it might be. This is great for doing responsive content. So let's say you're going to have three pictures and some text on there. And it's just several paragraphs of text. And the images, just have to be on the page. They're not exact lineup. Create the text block, the entire size of the page. Put those 3 images wherever you want, and then just set the text to wrap. And guess what? The text is going to just flow right around that image. And on every device you put it to, the text will fill the screen. It'll be the shortest possible page, and all your images will be on there. It's just going to work on every device. It'll work very smoothly on every device, very easily. So wrap text is a really, really nice way to do responsive design. Works for the easiest thing to author. You can paste, 4 pages of text in there, and you're done. It'll just grow the text block all you need, wrap around all the images on or videos or whatever, what have you on the page, and they'll be there. But the nice thing about it is it wraps around things that are on top of it. If the images are actually behind it in the Z order, meaning in Lectura they are behind it, it'll just go over it. So if you have background images or things that are supposed to not get wrapped around, you just put those behind the text block and it won't wrap around those. So you have the option of having it wrap or not wrap. So kind of a cool way to do things. This is so important. All right, how many people out here still use Flash in their content? Yep. Some more of you probably do, you're just embarrassed to say, it's okay. Flash is dead. It is deader than dead. It's not even on some of the browsers. It's hard to get to. Some corporations aren't allowing it for security reasons. Don't use Flash anymore, and if there is, you got to get it out of there. You have several of the LMSs that if you put your content in them now and the content has Flash, it flags it as an error if there is Flash in the content now. Got to stop using it. And there is no way it'll work in a responsive. It's not going to work on mobile. It just can't be there anymore. And if your company says we can't change it, have them call me. I'll tell them they can't use it anymore. It's done. No more Flash. So it's time. It's just not, it has never been supported on mobile devices, and it's going away everywhere else. And if you walk over to Adobe, they'll tell you to stop using it too. They stop supporting it. I mean, it's gone. It's time. Time to move on. You can do everything through HTML5. eLearning Brothers have some excellent animations, things you can use that do a lot of the things. I'm sure that whatever that is that you had in Flash, you can redo it in HTML5. It will work just great. You can put it in a little web window inside of whatever tool you use. It will work just fine, just not in Flash anymore. This is a big one. So what you'll find when you actually do get into responsive is that it's really, really easy to create content that only has to work in landscape mode. Because guess what? You create it on your desktop, and what Lectura does for you, it works. It works great on a tablet landscape. It actually works pretty good on a tablet in portrait too, and it's perfect on a phone in landscape mode as well. You will never have to change those views. I mean, sometimes. Maybe you want to add a few things into it, do something different. Maybe on a phone you want to take some stuff out because it's busy, but in general, you have to make no change. It is so easy to create responsive content for a landscape view, you won't believe. And then there's portrait mode on a phone. You're going to have to probably do something on there, because guess what? Everything changes. They're making them even longer now and thinner now. So the content, everything that was lined up in a row, sometimes it has to be in a row, but so you have to shrink things a little bit. Something you might have to do it. So a lot of people try to take a shortcut, and you can do this. You can just put up a big thing that says, "Please rotate your device." Don't do that. Don't. Everyone likes using their phone in portrait mode. Walk around when somebody bumps into you and they're reading their phone. Look how they're holding their phone. They're not holding it like this. They're holding it like this. That's how people use their phone. So don't give up. Don't put that big old thing that says rotate your device. Don't forget about portrait mode. Almost everyone prefers using that device in the phone, and that's how we're going to learn. If you're using it really quick, it's one-handed, it's looking at it. Don't forget portrait mode. Yes, it's easier. Don't do it. So, wow, that's a lot of stuff, right? A lot of things you have to do. Is there a shortcut? Is there a way I can get an easier way to get started? Well, absolutely. These gentlemen right here behind you. So, the eLearning Brothers has an amazing selection of pre-built interactions that are already built in Lectura. And if you have Lectura Inspire and soon to be Lectura Online, those are actually already included in your tool. So all of those are a part of your tool. So those interactions cover a lot of different things. They're already built responsive. They already work on the different devices. If you drop them in, they'll already have versions that work on those. And maybe they don't do exactly what you need, but they are built in Lectura. They're not hand-coded, crazy HTML things that you have to go in and edit JavaScript. They're Lectura pieces. It's just actions, things like that, text blocks. You can actually go in and edit those things and change them and do what you need. It's a great way to get started on responsive. You can see it. You also have, built-in full templates of multiple pages. You have full built courses with all the navigation built out in it. It's a part of their set. It's also part of our tools. They are our partners. So you can get all that within the authoring tool itself. So already built in. And I don't know if you haven't heard this, but a new thing they're rolling out, customizable courseware. These are fully built out courses. They actually have a set of 15 courses built in Lectura, ready to go, that they give you the source code for. So this is an example it's the ultimate head start. You have all of your materials already built out, full built out courses. You go in, change, put in your logo, maybe put in a few company rules, done. Yeah, responsive design in about an hour, ready to go. So, and then you can use these and customize them and tailor them. And then you can use concepts that you see them use in their courses within your own materials. So you get to learn a lot. It's a great head start, a great way to get going on it. So that's really the presentation. But if there's one thought I want to leave with you, it's not, moving to responsive design. It's not about using the latest technology. It's not about it's not about the phone or the device. It's about responding to the user, right? And what the user is doing and how they're using the content. So it's a very different mindset in how you want to design your stuff. So it's a new way to learn, and so we have to have a new way to teach. So thank you very much.